our channel, WDS, when the dust settles, is devoted to discussing the African Union and other regional organizations. But before we can discuss those regional organizations or discuss the African Union, who runs the African Union, I want to talk about two things. The first thing I want to talk about is, I know it have been something that happened a long time, but Africans in the United States are being asked this question. And so when people were trying to talk about Donald Trump, oh, Donald Trump doesn't know that Liberia speaks English, and why the national language of Liberia, is English. What Donald Trump did, asking Liberia's president, Joseph Boikai, that your English is very good, and where do you learn English from? People in the United States, people in the United States, some people in the United States don't know that, our English was imposed on United States by people from the UK or England, let's say. And many countries in Africa speak English. South Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Gambia, and a lot of people speak English as their national language. But the point I'm trying to make here is people acting as if Donald Trump was so ignorant to ask the question. That anybody that lives in the United States, any African that lives in the United States, have had people ask them this question: where did you learn English? Did you come to the United States? Let me just say every or most Africans. Did you learn English when you came to the United States, and why have you? Or your English is still good, or your English, why are you people learn English? Some of them think that we learn English when we came here. Yes, there's some Africans that learn English when they came here because some of them are from the French-speaking country, and some of them are from Arab-speaking country. So, but the question that Donald Trump asked Joseph Boikai, many Africans in the United States have had people ask them that same question. How did you learn English? So it should not be that Donald Trump was so ignorant. Donald Trump reflected what many Americans do. Ask you whether you speak English. Or some that will actually say they don't understand you because of your accent. But Donald Trump is not ignorant, as some people would think. Because many people ask us, how did you speak English? Where did you learn English? Did you learn English when you came to the United States? So the question that Donald Trump asked is questions that people always ask. How did you learn English? Did you come to the United States, before you learn English, your English is good, or whatsoever they might say. So Donald Trump asking Joseph Boikai that his English was clear. Donald Trump was not the first person. Most of us in the United States have people ask us that question. How did you learn English? Did you come here before you learn English? So I don't want people to, even the media acting as most of them don't ask people, how did you learn English? And did you learn English when you came to the, they ask us these questions, or this question. So I don't want you to look at Trump and just think that, oh, Trump is the only person. Many people ask us the same question. How did you learn English? And the thing is, Liberian speak English because free slaves from the United States of America went to Liberia and they speak English. And they spoke English, and so Liberians speak English. As I already went down the line, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Nigeria, they were all colonized by Great Britain. That's how they all speak English. We might not sound like an American because everybody has a different accent, but we all speak English because we learn English from where we come from. Another thing I want to talk about today is the situation with Senegal in the African Cup of Nations that just ended. How do you call it? Afcon script Senegal of the title, and the African Cup of Nations title, and this has been a very, very big debate all over the continent of Africa, or all in soccer circles. And as people who do these things on YouTube, we have to make our positions clear, so that people know where we stand when it comes to this issue. I love Senegal because Senegal is from West Africa. I'm from West Africa, and the game was a very good game. And yes, we saw good football, because for me, I've been watching African Cup of Nations for years, for years, the same way with the World Cup, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the finals because there was a good football, world-class players for both teams. But when it comes to the decision of taking the title away from Senegal, I think that's where the issue is. I was listening to Thierry Herring, one of the analysts on CBS Sports, and while I think he was tipping toes around the real issue, but he implied that their guys leaving the field, I don't think it was something they needed to do. It brought the game into it undermines the integrity of the game. I was fired from a job, right? 2 jobs in the United States because of leaving the job without properly being relieved. I'm saying that you cannot abandon the game. The decision of the decision the ref gave and made to give Morocco a penalty. No matter how you look at that decision, no matter what your interpretation of the situation is, I don't think leaving the field was appropriate. I don't think leaving the game was appropriate. Under the rules, if all you leave the game without authorization from the referee or the authorities of the game, the official of the game, you leave the game, that should have disqualified. That should have disqualified the team that left the field. And when you look at the game, Senegal players left the field. I think the only person that stood or was encouraging 8 players to come back was Samuel Mane. That's the only guy who was encouraging. Even the coach was walking his players out. And the game came to a standstill for almost 20 plus minutes, okay? People on Facebook, Facebook and Twitter, people can just say what they want to say. But you always got to look at the crux of the matter. That's why when my wife said, oh, this one, they do this, they do that, they do that. I always say, baby, what does the law say? What the policy say? What the law governing the particular thing, what did it say? Yeah, I know we all become so emotional in this kind of a situation because that's our team, that people we love, and you name the rest. But the rules are, if you leave the game without proper authorization from the officiating, the match officials, if you leave the game without proper authority from the match officials, that amount to abandonment of the game. So when Senegal left the field, they have abandoned the game. So technically, they cannot win the game which they abandoned. So I don't care what your interpretation is. I don't care what your emotion is. You have to go back to what the rules say. And people wrote on Facebook and Twitter that, oh, Senegal, not Senegal, but Morocco captain said he's not going to accept the trophy. That is beyond him. That is beyond him. The game is beyond him. The game is beyond him as an individual. The game is, there are almost 1.4 billion people, on the continent of Africa, and they try to protect the integrity of the game. So all the arguments that people making on Facebook and of Twitter and other kind of thing, nobody respect anything on. People just talk, and not just people just talk, but they have the right to express themselves. But I don't think it matters anyway. You cannot leave the game. As I said, I was fired from a job because I left the job and left, and I said, oh, I'm going home, and I can't exactly say what the situation surrounding my leaving that day was. But before I got to the office, God told me, said, man, you are no longer employed with us because you abandoned the job. You can't do that. So that's how I was fired. That applies to everybody. You are playing a game. The game is for 90 minutes. You cannot leave the game until you are authorized by the officiating staff. If you leave the game on your own, actions, that amounts to a disqualification, abandonment of the game. So I don't care what people can say. They are entitled to their own interpretation, but the rules indicate that you cannot leave the game until you are officially you are being directed or authorized by the officiating staff. So folks, why this is emotional, it hurts people and what have you, the right decision has been made. We got to move on. We got to protect the integrity of the game. My name is Pico Conway. Another thing I want to talk about is the African Union, right? The African Union, as you know, is the continental body that represents 1.4 billion people. And one of my friends asked me the other day, who really runs the African Union? The African Union is a very huge organization, right? And power is being shared at a different level. Power being shared at different levels. So, but the highest decision-making body within the African Union is the Assembly of Heads of State. That is the highest decision-making within the African Union. And then you have the African Union Commission and the African Union Commission. But the African Union chairperson, the 55 countries of the African Union, right? The 55 countries of the African Union, all the presidents and head of states, they always elect one person as the chair of the African Union. They honor that they get the African Union Commission. And the African Union Commission chairperson is the guy that runs the day-to-day affairs of the African Union. This guy is being considered as one of the most powerful persons within the African Union. Then you get the Peace and Security Council. The Peace and Security Council is one of the very important organizations within the African Union. These guys, that commission, intervene in crises like the coup d'etat in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. That particular Peace and Security Council, it functions more like the Security Council of the United Nations, but for Africa. You know, so the African Union Assembly of Head of State, they meet twice a year, and this is the highest decision-making body, as I said. And then you get the African Union Commission, and the AU Commission. The AU Commission chair, he's the one that runs the day-to-day affairs of the organization. And then you get the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. They intervene in crises, conflicts around the country. They authorize peacekeeping mission. Let me come back to the chairperson of the African Union, of the heads of state, Assembly of Heads of State. The current president is the president of Burundi. He replaced the president of Angola, who was Angola, who just left. So 2005, he just left. So the guy who's the chair now, he's from Burundi. Then the African Union, the African Commission chairperson is Muammar Ali Yusuf. He's from Djibouti. He's from Djibouti, and the other guy is from Burundi. The African Commission, the African Commission chair. But the African Union, one of my disappointment is the arguments that happen within the African Union. You know, the African Union was firstly the Organization of African Unity that was established or funded in 1963. It was funded in 1963, and after almost 50, 60 years, in 2002, they make a lot of changes, and they changed the name from the African Union to, let's say, from the Organization of African Unity to the AU, that is African Union. And before they can reach that stage, there were arguments between two permanent leaders of the organization. You have Muammar Gaddafi, and Muammar Gaddafi wanted a United States of Africa. Under his vision, he wanted Africa to be, you have one president, you have a common military, and you have a single currency. That was, just in a nutshell, that was Gaddafi's vision. Then Thabo Mbeki, on the other hand, Thabo Mbeki won a gradual integration of African Union countries. So the African Union is not different from the Organization of African Unity, although it's a little stronger than the Organization of African Unity that was founded in 1963, and in 2002 they changed the name. But it's not what most people wanted the organization to be. Most people, like Gaddafi, who was brutally killed by NATO and our own African brother Barack Obama, who led the bombing of Libya that led to Gaddafi's death. And one of the reasons I really don't like Obama, you know, the only thing he had to give Africa is to cause another chaos on the continent. And since Gaddafi was killed, Libya is still in flames. Libya is still having crisis. They have two governments. You have one government in Tripoli, you have another government, I think, in Benghazi. Since Obama did his nonsense, you know, in that country. But the point I try to make here is, Thabo Mbeki's vision was the same old vision from 1963, where we have the loose coalition of countries, because most of the countries don't want to give up their authorities. But if you talk to many Africans, they want a United States of Africa. And we hope to get there one day. If I should get in politics, if I should seek elected office in Liberia, my sole aim would be to fight for the integration of Africa. It has been so long that we stay tipping toes around the real issue. But let's see, who really controls the African Union? I know we talk about the Assembly of Heads of State. We talk about the African Commission and African Commission Chair, the AU Chair, and we also talk about the Peace and Security Council. But those that run the African Union are these powerful countries like Ethiopia, Nigeria, because of the population in Nigeria is one of the is the most popular country on the continent of Africa, and it has a stronger military, and it gives more to the African Union. South Africa, the same thing. So, Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, Bola Tinubu of Nigeria, Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, then William Ruto of Cameroon, and maybe you can add Cisse, not Cisse, the president of Egypt. These people, they are the power brokers behind the scene. These people are the power brokers because these guys had the financial and military power. So while the continent is made out of 55 countries and all of them are members, these 5 or 6 countries are the ones that really decide behind the scene what the African Union can and cannot do. Folks, my name is Pico Kanwe, and on this channel we break down what's happening, what the African Union does, what ECOWAS does, what these other regional bodies does. So if you want to get information about this body, join us every Friday for in-depth analysis of African issues. So next week we'll talk about what were the fundamental differences between the vision of Kwame Nkrumah Gaddafi on the one hand and the vision of William Tubman and Thabo Mbeki. How they similar? We'll talk about that and see which one you think. First, for me, I think Africa needs to go the way that Gaddafi wanted. One president, one military, one currency. That's where I think. But tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Folks, my name is Pico Kanwe, and let me just summarize. I said that I think Senegal leaving the pitch during the African Cup of Nations finals in Morocco. Senegal abandoned the game, and by that I think why people are emotional about it, by that I think Senegal is supposed to have been disqualified, and regularly so the trophy should be given to Morocco. Then we talk about Trump, that when you ask Joseph Boikai, you speak good English, where did you learn English? The question that Trump asked, many people ask us in the United States the same question. How did you speak English? Where did you learn English? Did you come to the United States before you learn English? So Trump is not like, what people think that he just want to be something else. But this is what people say to us in the United States. And lastly, we talk about the African Union. The African Union, represent 55, is an organization of 55 countries, and the population is about 1.4 billion, 1.4 billion people, and the African Union represent them, on the global stage. So if you want to learn more about what the African Union does and some of the activities that they are undertaking, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Folks, my name is Pico Kanwe. I will talk to you when I talk to you. Have a great day and bye for now.